Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Good morning, Glenn.
Morning, brother.
And
another fantastic round of coffees.
I know. I
Can't get enough this
I got
morning.
a tall boy.
Again?
Yeah,
Just one?
not on my shirt this time.
That's awesome.
Don't want to waste that stuff.
Man, that's great. Hey, you know, I love listening to that intake, outtake, their official words, right, for podcasts. Music, U2.
Oh, U2,
40.
yeah.
Some, you know, and that's become kind of my life song now, you know. I will sing a new song.
Right.
And certainly appreciate you too, Bono. Thank you.
Yeah. I poked around and found out that song was really an afterthought. They were putting together an album, and they literally had 5 minutes to fill, and they had no material. And he went and grabbed a Bible, and or he was reading a Bible, as the story goes, and he just came back and penned some words to some scripture to
Psalm 40,
and they just started coming, and now they close out every show with that, and it's powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing. In fact, the one I listen to, I look it up on YouTube. They have one in Chicago, 13 minutes or something, and it just fades out.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know, it's good inspiration for me, you know, lift up out of the pit, out of the miry clay. Yeah. I'm not sure if I was in miry clay, but I was in a lot of pits.
I was in a lot of miry clay.
Yep.
But, you know, the thing for me, too, is, you know, that song wasn't planned, and it's become their anthem. My life wasn't planned. I certainly didn't plan to be in recovery. I thought I was a lost cause. I thought I was stuck in that lifestyle, and there was no way to get out. I tried so many times to get out of that cycle, and I couldn't do it. And so, as Bono had his afterthought, it's my afterthought. I just said, Uncle, but then I guess this is why we're getting together for coffee this morning. And by the way, who is that just walked in the coffee shop?
Hey,
Is that
guys.
Lynda?
That is Lynda.
Hey, Lynda.
Glee
Lynda.
to the double N and Smiley Mike.
Hey,
I'm glad to
welcome
be
back.
back. Thank
Hey,
you so
this
much
is
for having
great.
me back.
Yeah, welcome back. We were
Yeah.
so happy. Lynda jumped in
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago and shared her story. So
Yeah, check out Lynda's story if
the bonus drop.
Yeah, if you
Lynda's
haven't
story,
checked
really
it out,
impactful,
it's
and
good
frankly,
stuff.
you know, we were wondering if that was like the record length of time because it was like 38 minutes.
Right.
But it probably should have gone 3 hours.
Yeah,
right,
no,
because
I
it was
could have
just
easily.
So powerful.
You know, there was such a shift, and there was such a shift in despair and desperation to hope and a determination to continue to live a better life. I mean, it was just such a clear-cut switch there. I loved it.
Yeah, so let's start out.
Yeah.
If I can recap, Lynda, if you don't mind me recapping, and then you can go back and listen to Lynda's
for it.
story, the bonus drop. But I think it's a good foundation of what we're going to talk about today. So during her story, she shared in October 2012-ish, she was in a bar taking her shots, and she looked in the mirror while she was doing this, and she said, "I hate you, bitch."
Yep, I did.
And then from her story as it went through strength and into hope, you know, we had the opportunity of asking her, "Hey, what do you say now when you look in the mirror?" Right? And she said, "I see goodness and love." Right? And also the word purpose came out. You know, her primary purpose is to help others on this path of recovery.
and to stay sober, because
You know,
I can't
just
do
got
it unless I
chills.
stay
I just
sober.
got
It is
Linda,
really.
look at those chills.
Oh, my
I
God.
just got chills because that's it for me and for many of us that come into these rooms. If you work the program, you change and you have new purpose. So that's one of the things that we want to talk about today is right. How do you get started, right, from the "I hate you, bitch" to the goodness and love, right, and new purpose, right? So we have, you know, some Twitter accounts. We're hearing from folks out there in podcast land. We love hearing from people. We love hearing some stories. We're going to have some folks on. But one of the common themes out there is, how do I get started?
I can tell you from experience that mostly it's the gift of desperation and pain.
Right.
It just gets so, it just hurts so much, and it's just so, and I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm so, I hated thinking about if I got caught, if people knew, if people, and that was huge too. That was another, motivator was that, if they found out that, I was, up all night drinking and drugging, and then here I am at church in the morning with the children's fellowship, and I hadn't even slept all night, and it's so cool though now because I can talk about it. I don't have to live with that, to die with that secret.
Right, I agree. I think you hit that point of pain, whatever it is, but I think you have to freaking admit it that you're at that point.
Well, just acknowledging that you're in pain, but because if they're not in pain, then why are you going to even change? Why would you?
Right. So let me paint a picture. Well, let me tell you a little story, and then we'll paint a picture. So, I've got this anonymous Twitter account. Thousands of followers, and I engage with people on there and just talk about experience, strength, and hope. And I have done it for several years. And so this guy reaches out. And I was actually his temporary sponsor I turned into his temporary sponsor for a while, and he reached out and he said, hey, I want what you have. I am tired, Lynda, just like you said, I'm tired of being sick and tired, right? I'm tired of the struggles, I'm just tired of this. Well, how do I get started, right? So, it was, and I said, hey, let's, let me tell you about my, I'm not telling you what to do, because that doesn't work very well. But let me tell you what I did, right? I said I got into the rooms of AA, the 12-step program, and he's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
And yeah. I say, hey, no problem. And he said, my town, which happens to be the town where I grew up, coincidentally, on the East Coast.
No coincidences.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I recognize how this works. And he said, there's no way I can go into that room because people are going to look at me and say he's got a problem with alcohol, and they're going to judge me because I got a problem with alcohol, and I don't want anybody to know I got a problem with alcohol. And I'm like, hey, brother, do you realize that they're in the room because they have a problem with alcohol? I said it's one of the most non-judgmental places that you'll ever find. And so it took him 3 months to get started. It took him 3 months to get into the room.
Here's what's huge about
Long
that guy,
story short, just celebrated 18 months.
Yay.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, I think the big thing was he actually reached out for help, because that's the hardest thing first, is to admit that we need help.
Right.
We may not even admit that we're alcoholic or drug addicts, but just that I can't do it anymore, and I can't.
Lynda,
so admitting it is huge.
And you're right.
The
admitting
ego.
it, you're right, is different than asking for something. Okay, great. I know I got a problem.
Right.
But it was, October 13, 2018, where I literally said the word help out loud. And I didn't think anyone was in the room, right? Turns out my wife was. So Katie barred the door. So I was on the road to recovery. But my higher power heard that word help too. I was looking for help. I didn't know where I was looking. I just needed help. So great point.
But what's funny too with me was all those years from when I started drinking and drugging at 13, well, mostly drugging, I asked for God's help a lot.
Oh, sure.
I was asking him all the time. But you know what? I needed
Right.
more than just that, because I believe that there's not just God and me, but I need other people.
Yeah, right.
I can't do it just with me and God. I couldn't do it.
Right.
And it says, but He created us as people for relationships, and that's all what it's about right there.
Yeah, and I think as I'm sitting there thinking of who we might be speaking to, right? That one person that's still in a jungle gym inside their head, and they're for the 500th time, I'm not going to drink today. They land up drinking right back in that cycle of hell. A couple things. When you said I asked for God's help, there's many times in my life I asked for God's help, but I didn't do the action. I didn't do any work, and it reminds me of in college. I had this guy in college, and he had a big test coming up, and he prayed and prayed and prayed. All week long, he prayed diligently that he was going to get a good grade, and he failed. and he's like, oh, God's testing me, God doesn't love me, God, and I'm like, no, man. I think when, and it clicked for me then, I'm like, when you pray and ask for God's help, you got to get in and do the action, right? So there are many times I asked for God's help. God, please get me through this night. God, please stop the shakes, but I didn't do any action.
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah. So, I think, I think getting, tired of, sick and tired, right? But there's, and all we can do is share our story, right? So our story, the three of us, is based in the 12-step program, right? Mm-hmm. For me, I tried every other avenue for help out there, and none of them worked. My story, I tried many doctors, many meds, major meds. I tried other programs that you find on the internet. I tried many different things, and I bought all the books online. I watched the movies. Nothing worked, except for when I surrendered and really diligently started working the program of AA. So I think to let people know when we talk about how to get started, it's going to be about the 12-step program, because for all of us, that's right. And we're not discounting others. We're not saying others don't work, because I have heard stories of successful sobriety through other programs. Right. Just not for me.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that it's the 12 steps, that I wish they say everything you need to know you learn in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great if they taught you how to admit that we're powerless, to seek help, and then to take an inventory of ourselves and what we're doing, right, and have that awareness and telling ourselves, and then, entirely ready and be aware of our character defects and have them removed, and then making amends to people, and then doing a prayer meditation, and daily, checking our inventory daily, and then helping others. If we could learn that when we're in kindergarten, can you imagine what this world would be like?
Right.
So those 12 steps are crucial. They're just crucial to life. I found that it's such divine providence that Bill W. created these with Alcoholics Anonymous, but how it helps with so many other things, and anything in your life that we're powerless, that makes our lives unmanageable.
Yeah, it really does. And I tried. I didn't have doctors working. I didn't have a team of doctors like you did, Glenn, but I had a team of my own.
I had good insurance.
Yeah, well, I had myself, because I was going to conquer. Self can conquer. So this can conquer self. So, I was going to conquer this, and that process went on for 46 years, from the time I was 13 till the time I was 59. Certainly, I wish I would grab this when I was in kindergarten, but I lived kindergarten at 60 years old, and I tell you, it was beautiful, because when I did say help, and I went to a person and they said, I don't know if I can fix you, but I'll tell you what I did to fix me. That was it. I just followed what worked for them. If I want to learn to golf, I want to watch video of Tiger Woods golfing,
That reminds me of when the self-help, is what we were going for, And how am I going to help myself if myself is such a mess? Like,
That's right.
It's like the blind leading the blind of myself. So I need someone else to show me how to do it. And that takes humility,
And walking into the doors, your friend didn't want, Glenn, your friend didn't want to go to meetings. And, I didn't necessarily sign up. I didn't aspire to be a meeting goer when I was 13 years old, but I was looking for a hope. I was looking for a solution at 60. And so when I walked through the doors, they told me to keep coming back, and I kept coming back, and I kept seeing success stories, and I could get a little bit from one person's success story, a little bit. So going back to where do you get started? Give it a try. Give the meetings a try, because it'll open your eyes if you open your ears.
Yeah, one of the things for me, and I struggled. I mean, I had and still have ego issues. I'm progress, not perfection, of course. But for me, my whole life, from as early as I can remember, I was coached to be self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. And if you asked for help, that was a weakness.
Right.
There was something wrong with you. You couldn't figure it out. I remember early on in business, right? Hey, don't come and ask, figure it out yourself. Don't ask me for help. Figure it out yourself, right? So, and that was ingrained for years. So that became part of my DNA, and I'm like, I'll figure this out. I'll get research and I'll figure things out. And I got the result, and what I really learned early on, as I was trying to, I can't do this anymore. I found that one of the biggest, strongest, powerful things I did in my life was I asked for help. And what I can assure you from my story and many, many other stories that I've seen, when I asked for help was there. In an abundance, and I'm getting those stinking chills again, but in an abundance that just doesn't make sense in this world. Right. What people in this program are willing to do when all you say is, I need help. And that's all you got to say. Mm-hmm. You just have to say, hey, I need help.
I can't. Because we're always talking, I can, I think I can, and I can't. And it's like that oxymoron, in order to win, we must surrender, know. And that's the hardest thing to comprehend.
But I look at not today, but I used to look at surrender as failure.
Failure, right?
You think of surrendering a war, you're going to somebody's jail. You're, and this is you're surrendering to a new way of living, a new way of thinking, new freedom. Right. And so okay, so some raise their hand, I think, and they come to the rooms for the first time, and we don't promote AA.
No,
that's not our objective, but it's no secret that our 12-step program is right. So, and I'm just saying that for this reason, AA.org, ORG, is a good starting point, right? So, what I know is there's meetings all around the world. Right.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot on that one, though. Let's say I'm a newcomer and I come in the room and, oh my God, look at these people. It's freaking cults. This is all over the world. There's little groups.
I thought that.
And oh yeah, it could be a little, intimidating, and I remember when someone, and they brainwash, you're being brainwashed, and I thought, yeah, I'm being brainwashed. My brain needed to be washed.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
But what's the beauty of it though is it's suggestions. It's you don't have to. We must, but really we do, because like if we're gonna go skydiving, and we're gonna learn from that later, and he suggests that you pull that ripcord. So
it's funny you say that about the cult, because the first guy in my life who I ever knew was in AA. It was my brother-in-law, and he was up in Vermont, and I can remember I went to his wedding, and I, he was an attorney who just didn't like life anymore, so he went to live in the woods, right? So I'm going to his wedding, he's in a deerskin shirt, and he's running through the woods with his arms spread out.
Oh, I'm picturing it.
And he's like, I wish there was a video, because I'm actually got my arms out. He's like flying through the woods, singing, and and he was my first AAer that I ever met, and I literally thought that. I'm like, what a whack. Right. What a cult. They got to him. And hey, when I came into the rooms for the first period of time, I'm like, hey, this is brainwashing. These people are really into it. These guys go bowling together. You got to be kidding me. But that's one of the things that I wanted to point out initially, is when I came into the room, I was looking for differences.
Yeah.
I'm not like you. Don't have that problem. Oh my God. I never punched my wife. Don't have that problem. And what I hear today, and I think it's helpful, is to come in and look for similarities. When you read the stories in the big book, when you hear the stories in the room, it has nothing to do with socioeconomic status, right? I mean, that's how I picked my first temporary sponsor in rehab in Laguna Beach. He had a nice watch. He had nice clothes, and he drove a nice car. So, I mean, that was my filter. That was my standards, right? And it's amazing. I mean, that has nothing to do with success in this program. And so I think if you come in, you start listening for similarities. What do they say that I recognize in my own life? So I think I think that's a good way to start too.
And don't do it on your own. I think
you can't do it.
I think Lynda brought that up at the beginning. Get somebody you can be. And this is for me, this was a tough word. I was accountable to nobody my entire life. Nobody. I was accountable to nobody. I was an entrepreneur. I didn't have bosses. I didn't play second fiddle in my relationships. I was the guy. I had no accountability. Best thing that ever happened to me was getting an accountability partner, and an accountability partner who's gone down the path that I want to follow. It made all the difference for me.
So some people call them sponsors, right? And when you come into the room, it's like, oh, you got to get a sponsor, right? The first thing I think of is multi-level marketing.
Yeah, right.
Somebody that's going to benefit. Somebody's benefiting here from me.
Hashtag Amway.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Somebody's going to benefit, but that's not how it is. Hey, just get a temporary sponsor, right? Just go to somebody in the meeting, who is active, and just say, hey, I need help. I need a temporary sponsor.
Show me the way.
Yeah,
show me the way.
Temporary sponsor.
Well, it's like,
and let the magic happen.
Well, why are you doing this for me? And I don't understand why the newcomer comes in and goes, I don't understand. It's like, because they did it for me and it worked.
Right.
And I need to give it to somebody else because it works. And and to see lives change, to see people change. I picture you, Michael, the first time, when you were in the room, and I was like, oh my God, that guy, poor guy. And now I see it. It's such, and you too, Glenn, it's such, and just to see that, it is such a miracle, and that brings such joy to me to see people living their best lives, and still, we have troubles, we have problems, life happens, but we learn how to deal with it differently.
That's
right. I love the left-handed, and the right-handed way, because, listening to that, Glenn, when I remember you telling about in the rooms, and the thing is that right hand, and what my thought when that is, the right hand comes up right away, always.
Well, that's
and then the left
croc brain.
Well, it is, but
it's
and the thing that I thought about this is that we learn to use that left hand, but also, we can't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it, so we use that right hand too, from those past experiences, and then we've got a really good grasp, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I think coming in, so for me, when I really surrendered, there was a year I didn't even spend on the phone. I literally I was drunk every day, and I didn't know what to say, right? So when people say, hey, here's my phone number, call me, I never call anybody, because I'm like, I don't know what to say. I could barely have a conversation, and now I can't shut up. But back then, I couldn't even have a conversation. No way I'm not calling everybody, right? But that's where, having a little faith and trust in the program that this stuff works. My sponsor said, hey, call me every day. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to call you every day. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to call you every day. He said, no, I want you to call me every day. I said, dude, I'm not going to call you every day because I don't know what to say. He said, I'll tell you what to say. He said, you pick up the phone, you call me, and when I answer the phone, say, hi. Can you do that? I'm like, I can do that. And so I did that. And I did it for like a month. And I'm like, I felt like such an idiot. Yeah. But I'm like, I want what you have. So I call him up. I'm like, hey. And then he's like, hey, dude, and I'm just like, this guy's an idiot, man. This guy's so, so happy on life. And it, I'm telling you, it just works. And, I know we have some sobriety at this table, and I know we're changing. And, it just takes that first time of reaching out. Reach out to the show,
Right.
Podcast at Sober.Coffee. Write the show.
And reading recommendation. Again, we're not here to promote Alcoholics Anonymous, but they published a book back in 1935 called Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's referred to as the Big Book. But the first 164 pages, it's a textbook. It's a guide. It's a how to fix it. If my stove broke at home, pre-YouTube, I'd have to go buy a book on figuring out how to fix my stove. I've got to eat, so I got to fix the stove. This book tells me how to fix myself with the help of others and a higher power. It instructs me how to walk through it. and it's only 164 pages. You could read it in a day.
Yeah, but we can't fix ourselves. We
No, we
can't fix
can't.
it. He said it
No,
tells us how
right.
to fix
Right,
ourselves,
right.
but it shows us how to reach out for others to help us, you know, and
Yep.
you know, and we're not going to be fixed, you know, because
No.
you know, because that means we're going to be perfect, you know, but it's going to be
Improve.
better. It's not, and what is it? Dr. John says it's oh gosh, you guys were just talking about it the other day.
Learning how to suffer better.
Suffering better,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we've said that a lot.
Yeah,
you know, a lot.
love Dr. John.
So another thing is, they recommend for newcomers 90 meetings in 90 days.
Yep.
Right.
My Coke dealer was the one that told me.
Yeah. So
I'm like, what's that?
that's quite a lead generation
99,
program.
Seriously.
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 And we use a phrase, keep coming back, and there's a guy in our program that says, hey, keep coming back until the miracle happens. And I couldn't say it any better. And you know what? Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. But I have seen people, if you just keep coming back and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to spend a meeting a day for 90 days. If you spend time in the pool, you eventually learn how to swim, and if you don't get in the pool, it's hard to learn how to swim, So the one thing, and I know we're up on time here, but the one thing is, it's great to just get in the room where the miracles happen. We've chatted, probably didn't have any specific format here this morning. We just threw out, some thoughts and experiences and, some hope. But one thing that we want to do is, for those that are listening that may want to get started, don't know how to get started, but want somebody to connect with, please just email our show. Lynda, Mikey, I will read it. We will engage. You are no longer out there alone.
Right.
Well, what's
There
wonderful is when you
is a
walk in there,
solution.
there's no judgment because we've all been there.
That's
So you don't have to
And
worry about
hey,
telling
you know what?
your
For this
crap.
guy,
You know?
I just keep thinking for this guy, the step into the room was too big.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? But maybe an email
Maybe
to
an email.
podcast@Sober.Coffee. Maybe that's a smaller, easier step just to reach out. I will assure you it's totally anonymous. We don't care who you are. We will never share, we will never break your anonymity. We can talk off the record. It doesn't matter. But we just want to be one of many resources that are out there.
Right.
Maybe a baby step. Just say, help. Just say, hey, trying to figure out. Just, hey, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And let the miracle start happening.
Yep.
Amen.
Start your journey today. Continue your journey. Whatever. We're here.
Favorite chapter in the big book, man,
Good
is
stuff.
there is a solution.
No,
Yeah.
no. Love it. Love you, Glenn.
All right, guys. Linda,
Thank you. I
Thanks,
love you
Lynda.
guys. I
Great for
love the
jumping in.
love.
All right, thanks.
Thank
man.
you for having me.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.